So are we live?
I believe we're live.
I think we're live. Hey, Steve.
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Good. I'm still not 100% convinced we're live. I don't trust
We are
these
live.
people.
I see it.
Do you see it? Are we up? All right, fantastic. Hey, everybody, it's Mike Meyers with the Mike Meyers Ask Mike Anything live stream. Back by popular demand is my good friend and new SME for the Total Seminars A+, Steve Nicholson.
Hey, guys.
Our stage and treat. And what a guy, too. Yeah. So, Steve, nobody shows up on these live streams on time. All right.
I figured that.
Like right now, we got like 9 people. So just talk about anything you want, and in about 10 minutes, we'll have a good crowd. But right now, it's almost a little bit embarrassing. Hey, Andre, I did see your message. I got your email. I just haven't had a chance to respond. So I didn't forget about you, man.
I'm waiting for YouTube chat to pop up here, and then we can do some interactions.
Yeah, I've got YouTube chat just popping up now. So, all right.
The delay is
so
weird.
First of all, can you guys hear me okay? Somebody in the chat window type in. They like your
camera angle better.
Yeah,
all
better.
Right.
Oh, so you're actually seeing the chat window this time?
I do. I see it now, yeah.
Okay, great. All right.
Yeah, last time I was told it was adjusted too short. So make sure I'm looking large in frame.
That's what, okay, I didn't understand what people were saying there. Okay, I got it. Come on, people. We're literally, we're up to 11. Isn't it hilarious how it takes forever for people to show up?
What's that notification, right? They get the notification via YouTube. They have to either check the phone for the app or check their email, click the link.
Some people have to wash their hair, and
That's true.
So
I look like I needed a booster seat. That's funny. I'm an average height individual, Patricia. Thank you very much.
So while we're stalling, letting a few more people in here, I'm sort of so we're actually preparing our question today for our questions giveaway.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't say anything, Steve, because we'll give away the answer.
We could say it's physical, right?
Start
Googling your form factors. We can say that.
Let's get physical.
Physical.
Oh. Now, so what do you think about our queen? Or I guess technically not our queen. Steve, there's many weird aspects about me, and one of them is I'm a nut about British royalty. And if you make me sit down quietly, I can name every king or queen from William the Conqueror. In fact, I could probably get a bunch of them before that. So British royalty is this huge passion of mine. So, of course, the Queen passing is a big deal for me. But I get a lot of friends going, okay, Mike, so, how about them Astros? So
it does. I mean, monarchies do seem a little outdated. I don't want to speak negative of the dead, but it does seem like a little bit of a carryover from an older society that we should probably let go. But it is interesting that it's been almost a week of festivities now and something like $100 million spent. That's kind of crazy to me.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely it's a big deal, and I watch every part of it. I wasn't even sure if Prince Charles was going to call himself Charles III. Remember the previous two Charles? Charles I got his head cut off, and then became part of the British Civil War, and then Charles II was basically, arguably, the last even partially Catholic king, and that he basically, they liked him so little that they brought some people over from the Netherlands. It's William and Mary. So
I did notice, because I actually saw the processional that they were doing today when I went to the barber, but I did notice they showed King Charles, and he has gout or something's going on with his hands. Did you notice that? They're very swollen and red. Have you noticed that?
No, but now I'm going to look it up.
He looks like he might be suffering from some health issues himself.
Interestingly enough, I typed in King Charles Gout, and I got pictures of Charles the V, Holy Roman Emperor Charles V. Wow.
That's weird. Try King Charles fingers and you'll see it.
I'm going to check it out. I'll check it out. All right. I think, do we have enough of a quorum? We can start talking to everybody now finally?
I think so.
With any little bit of hope. Oh, yeah, we're coming. We got 20 some odd folks. That's close enough. We'll get a lot more in. All right. King Chuck, how'd you get so funky Chuck? Thank you, Dave Rush, for the Steve Martin reference. Always good.
Dave's sharp with them.
Dave and Tolowit are the two dangerous ones. You get those two going toe to toe, and it can be dangerous.
And by the way, before anybody comments later on, yes, this says Hedgehog Mama on it. All of our other cups were dirty. So yes, I'm drinking out of a Hedgehog Mama cup.
So how many Hedgehog Mamas have to be killed to make that cup?
I think 37. It says on the bottom.
Made that is so much more efficient than the old ones that used to take 44 to 45.
Yeah.
Hedgehog Mamas. So I'm glad to see, you guys are doing a little bit for the earth there.
Well, the process is improving, We're getting a little bit better.
Well, it's that big stamping machine. You slide the hedgehog in and shabam, and
that's it.
Heat and pressure makes cups, man.
Yep.
Every time. True. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hey, everybody. We've been stalling because okay, now everybody's starting to show up quickly now. Good. So it's Mike Meyers with Steve Nicholson on today's AMA. Yes, we've got giveaways. Yes, we've got lots of fun. But today, we're going to have a little bit of fun with Steve Nicholson. One more time. Andre, I got your email. I'm sorry I didn't able to respond to it as a timely a basis as I'd like, but hope all is good, man. So enjoy. I'm still a little bit mourning over Daryl Gibson passing. Did you hear about this? In fact, Steve, do you know? Okay, you're kind of, in my opinion, you're new into this part of the business,
right?
So I don't want to drop too many names without. But I knew Daryl Gibson well. I wouldn't say we were friends, but we were good associates and certainly communicated with each other quite a bit. I had no idea that he was suffering from cancer, and he's just a tough kind of guy. And I miss him. And there's a lot of attributes on LinkedIn for him. So we'll see.
That's where I first saw it too. And he was big. I took notice of him because he was always big on pushing transfers of knowledge. Like communal transfers of knowledge was his big thing. And I really respect anybody that does that. I think that's how we keep the world going around. So yeah, big boss. Yeah,
I mean, he was the king of if you build it, they will come, and did a good job. And certainly kicked my butt in the Security Plus realm for a while. I think I finally caught up to him, but I own all of his books. I was trying to find them during the live stream when we made this announcement on Monday, but it's tough. And he was a big guy too. He was not a physically small person, so he will be missed. All right, so let's see what's going on. First, I'm going to do a quick scroll through. So, folks, a couple of rules that you're going to make our lives a lot easier on. Number one, the whole goal here is Steve and I are going to be talking about A+, but if you have any questions on any certification, any technical issue, this is the place to do it. Just type it into the chat window and go from there. If you're the shy type, you can send me an email. I'm going to type it in. Steve, could I impose on you to type in? Do you have an email that you're willing to share with the public?
We can do my Total Seminars one if that's okay.
I didn't even know you had one. Let's go ahead and do that. So Steve and I are going to type in our email addresses. If you're shy, you're unsure about anything, feel free to just send an email. And we're always glad to answer those questions that you might have, and welcome aboard. So also make sure on your chat window up at the top, it might say top chat. Go ahead and change that to live chat to get the algorithm out of the way. So, and we can take care of that too. All right, so let's see who's on. Patricia's here, Andre's here, of course. Steve is IT. That's you, right?
That is.
Steve, that's you, sir. Steve, do you even know what romper room is? Does this word mean anything?
The romper room, yeah.
So I always laugh at myself a little bit when I'm seeing this on. I see Andre and Patricia and. But I do want to see if there's new faces. I always want to take a quick look. Betlind looks new to me. Welcome. Andre, always good to see you when you can be here. Vegas Brent's here. All right. Mohammed's here. Rashad, hello. Don, my Don, the good question guy. And of course, Catherine Legrand. Andre's giving me garbage about the Queen stuff earlier because I said our Queen. Yeah, you're very right, Andre. We in 1776 we made a change there, but all right. Well, anyway, so guys, it is important. Do keep in mind that Steve and I start at 2:00, and we will end. We're going to be talking a little bit on A+, but after that, we end at 3:00. So this is a 1-hour show, unless the questions run out. So it's really pretty much up to you. Oh, Mike Segworth is back. Steve, you're going to like Mike. He just showed up on Monday. A lot of good questions from this guy. So I think he's going to be an easy one. And Trey Della, of course. All right, I'm not going to name every name. I know it's boring. But anyway, so, oh, wait a minute. Mike, you just passed your Network Plus. Congratulations. Big round of applause to you, sir, for doing that.
Edlin did it as well. Congrats to both of you.
Oh, I didn't even. Oh, I see it there. I see it now, too. Well done. Well done. Super job, guys. I mean, that's what it's all about. So you remember now what the next thing to do is go get a job. Go to work. All right. Steve.
Mike.
What are we talking about today in terms of A+?
Well, I figured, last week there was a lot of people that wanted to cover some of the objectives that have either changed or some of the things we might have noticed, or just talk about some of the objectives that are available for the new 1101 and 1102. So I figured we'd probably take some time today and do that. That was the purpose of last week's call, but we didn't get to it. We're having too much fun.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and let's do exactly that. So, folks, what we're looking for is, in particular, questions directed towards the changes or what's new on the A+. And It Just Be Mean would very much like to talk about the objectives. Steve, do you have a way you want to drive this, or you want me to just you know what? Why don't we just break down first of all, and can we talk about how the main level 1 objectives have changed at the, give me that 10,000 foot view. Can we do that as a starter? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, you want to do like percentage wise? Because I'm not familiar with, I'd have to go back and pull up the 1001 and 1002 to exactly see which core domains have changed percentage wise. We can go over the new ones.
Yeah, let's do that. That's what I meant, please.
Okay. Go ahead and I'll share my screen here. All right, hopefully everybody can see that here. By the way, this document is available via CompTIA. This is their official objectives for the 1101 and 1102. We just combined them into one sheet.
We all know this one, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. So as soon as that catches up, here are the new domains and the actual measurement for each. And if you'll notice, we've had a little bit more come back into hardware network troubleshooting than was there before. That's now at 29%. We have our virtualization and cloud computing that's going to continue building on, guys. That's never going to stop. We're going to keep offloading stuff to other servers or other resources located online. Virtualization and cloud computing is going to continue to grow. Hardware still right around 25%, network 20%, and mobile devices 15%.
Steve, just so you know, I pulled up the old domains from the previous exams. So I'm looking at the 1001, and none of them are that aggressive. We're all within hardware. Hardware went from 27 to 25%, and that's the biggest movement.
Yeah.
Everybody else is within 1 or 2%. Hardware and network troubleshooting went up 2%, but it's basically the same numbers. 14%, 20%, 27%, 12%, and 27%, which to me is almost not a change. That's my opinion. And I'm sticking.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, and they, like you said, they did bring a lot more back onto the troubleshooting side for a while there with, I don't remember if it was the 901 or 801 series, but there was a little bit of a moving away from actually breaking down systems and getting hands-on and troubleshooting to the resolution stage. And now I'm glad to see that being brought back and actually impacted a little more. How do you want to do this? You want to just keep going through it?
Yeah, I'm actually kind of curious. I mean, I've certainly gone through this a few zillion times myself, but it's always interesting to hear a fellow SME's take on these types of things.
Okay, I'm just going to walk through it then, and we can take a look at some of, stuff here is standard. Obviously, we're doing a lot more computing, or portable computing, I guess we can call it, whether it be mobile or not these days. So there's a big focus on mobile devices. They continue to combine portable computing to be both mobile devices and laptops at the same time. which is, technically fine. But you're going to see a lot of that stuff mingled. So we have our standard stuff here about, our hardware replacement stuff. We have some security things poking their way in here with biometrics. We get into, the common, again, display stuff. Same thing with monitors. We have our different types of LCDs and LEDs and all that stuff that gets built into it as well. Our ports and accessories of mobile devices here, you can see we've got all, and it goes back far too. Like we're going all the way back to the micro USB, mini USB on some of these connections, even though you don't find that connection a lot these days on mobile computing devices anyways, maybe mobile storage devices. We covered Lightning and, Thunderbolt and all that good stuff is still in there for you Mac fans. Let's see here. Trying to find out where so a lot of stuff too has come up with this device synchronization and setup. So if you guys aren't actively, I don't want to say practicing, because it is weird to practice an Office 365 or Google Workspace or iCloud account setup, but there are questions and possibly PBQs. Do you talk about PBQs in the channel, Mike?
Sure.
Yeah, so PBQ are performance-based questions, and for those of you that might be new to IT certifications, a lot of the IT certifications front load these PBQs, and they're not ever multiple choice or true false or fill in the blank. It's something you actually have to do on screen, some function you need to perform, something you need to fix. A lot of times I actually encountered one of these as a PBQ for the 1102 side of things. So make sure that it's things we don't even think about when we set these up, because half the time we're just worried about getting it set up, getting logged in and using the utility. But those little individuals, what's that?
No, I'm harumphing. Harumph.
It's true, but it's the little nuances along the way that CompTIA does a really good job of drilling in and asking you questions about. So I would definitely make sure to work through those processes a few times, even though all of us have done it many, many times now. Let me see if there's any questions. Finding it hard to remember all of the specific Windows administrative app names. Can you give me an example of that, Steady as Shark? No more PETA. Yes, no more PETA. It must be me.
So while Steady as Shark is going to go up some examples, I'll bet a nickel he or she is either talking about control panel or talking about system, is my guess. We'll see. But to me, well, that's a big challenge, is that for the A+, this ongoing, well, number one, thank goodness that CompTIA finally got us down to more, we're not having to talk about, is this Windows 7 or Windows 8.1
yes.
kind of stuff? I mean,
that's true.
But if you think about it, even on the 1001, 1002, in my opinion, there were very few, like, is this a Windows 8 question? You know what I mean?
Yep.
It was more of a, trying to think of some of the questions that, Metro Desktop or, that kind of a thing, which really did point to, arguably 8 or 8.1. But even those questions really, they wouldn't necessarily say Windows 8. You know what I mean? They'd say,
right.
What is this a feature of, whatever, Windows. So I thought that was interesting. Getting it down to Windows 10. And Steve, the other thing you got to keep in mind here is that every 3 years, when we come out with a new A+, it seems that Microsoft, because they're evil, come up with another version of Windows to mess everything up. And even with this one, where they were ready and they were just going to do Windows 10, and then what happens? Windows 11 pops. And so there's a little notation. As a matter of fact, Steve, would you do me a favor before we continue on there? Can you scroll and find that? Oh, dude, that's in the that's going to be in the 1102. You know what? Let's just get here.
It's at the bottom somewhere. I remember it at the bottom of one of the pages, but
I'm pretty sure it's in the 1102.
All right, let's see here. Let me find the midway point.
I'm going to try to find it on my end too.
Here we go. So yeah, Mike brings up an excellent point, and this is something I wanted to cover earlier, and I didn't lead with it. But for all intents and purposes, every question on the A+ can technically either be Windows 10 or Windows 11. So it does make it a little more difficult, but especially for those PBQs, right? Because if you're not familiar with the Windows 11 desktop or how things are kind of, the aesthetics are rearranged in that, that can get a little tricky. So just make sure that everything you're studying for Windows 10 you also know how to do it in Windows 11. A lot of times there isn't much variance there. There isn't, the process is relatively simple. Control panel is where it is. All of our tools are where they are. But you do need to know both.
But the important thing is they're not going to ask you any pathing questions.
Right.
What do you click to get to da-da-da? So that's over with, which in my opinion is the only real difference between 10 and 11 at all, is just interface. Sure.
I mean, outside of things that people like the zero trust thing with Windows 11 being Microsoft's first out of the box zero trust operating system, that's a really cool feature. Do you need it for A+? Probably not. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, for what we need it for, it wasn't too huge of a change. While I'm here, should we talk about the major changes to the 1102? We can or should we go back to the hardware side?
Well, let's stick on the hardware stuff for right now, and let's just keep an eye on the time, Steve, so we don't.
Gotcha.
And we're going to have to watch for a few questions. So, Dave, not only am I watching the chat for questions, but I may. Dave Rush also asked some questions too. So, unfortunately, you can't see those. I'm going to have to warn you about those when those pop up.
Yeah, so if we continue on with the networking stuff, a lot of that has pretty much been kept the same. I love the CompTIA Professional series of certs. In my regular career, I try to push students through those 3 certs, A+, Net+, and Security+, because they're just such a beautiful foundation of information, and they all have this nice little gentle overlap that they each do. So a lot of this stuff is going to be familiar if you've already been studying for the 1001 or 1002 stuff. A lot of the network things stay the same. Got some new stuff. ONT, I'm not sure if optical network terminal was there before, but for those of you that don't know what that is, if you have fiber outs at your house, they've got this little box that can convert the fiber signal into ones you can use in your network, and that's what an ONT is. With software-defined networking, that's a huge thing that's coming up nowadays with all the Internet of Things devices and all the virtualization. But other than that, networking, not too much changed. Some new standards with Wi-Fi 6 we need to be made aware of.
All right, so I got steady as shark's answer, Steve.
Okay.
What he means is that the programs that I was partially right. The programs you can find in control panel administrative tools, there feels like quite a few share aspects with each other, so I get a bit mixed up. So my quick answer to that is I don't see a lot of control panel applets sharing aspects as much as I see control panel versus settings sharing aspects. So to me is don't panic. What you want to do is know the tools and what they do, because no one's going to tell you where to go or what to do, right? So let's say you have a question that says, I need system information. So to me, that's probably, because I know A+, that's probably going to be an MS Info question, right? But there are other ways to get that. So the answer is look at the question you're being presented with, and you've got 4 answers. Use that as the criteria to help you figure out where you're going to go. So hopefully that answers your question, steady as shark.
Yeah, and backing onto that too, common test procedures are, if you're really flustered with the question and you can't figure out what answer's right, you're probably going to be able to identify a few answers that are wrong. So go ahead and eliminate those 2 and spend your time deciding between the remaining ones, and at least give you a greater chance of answering it correctly. Okay, continuing on, we got some stuff with SCADA. So we're starting to see a lot of, I'm guessing CompTIA is deciding that SCADA networks and professional IT services are kind of blending somehow, or at least you need to know how to handle that stuff. We mostly see those with energy generation facilities these days, or anything governed under nuclear regulatory rules or stuff like that. So that's an interesting one as well. Still, well, we have some focus on IPv6 coming back in, but still haven't made the full transition to only IPv6. Mike, you're a man of the people. You've been in the industry for 50 years now.
1 million years.
Yeah, however long it's been, a lot longer than most of us. What do you see as the holdup for us switching over completely to IPv6? Is it just the plethora of legacy devices out there that can't handle it?
I think the problem here, and this is one of the nice parts about being an old geezer, is that we lived under network situations that had lots of different stacks all working together. I mean, I remember the old, date myself, the old NetBIOS NetBUI stack for the original Windows LAN manager, or Microsoft LAN manager back then, running on IPX, SPX, supporting Novell NetWare. And so back in the old days, it was common to have lots of stacks. There was no, we have to switch over to one or the other. You just ran multiple stacks just to be comfortable with whatever you might run into. And over time, as Microsoft and Linux tools and Apple came along, they would literally, do you remember something called Apple Talk?
Yeah.
I mean, we used to be able to run all these stacks, but over time they would just stop being used, right? Yep. And as a result, we went for years where most people were just running an IPv4 stack. But that wasn't because your system wasn't capable of it. There was just nobody else to talk to. And, to this day, I can take a Windows 11 machine and have it run NetBIOS NetBEUI if I needed it to. But right. So it's not a switch over. It's not like we're all going to go from left side of the road to right side of the road kind of a thing. It's just a matter of I can support multiple stacks. And as these other stacks disappear, we do reach a point where we'll only probably have IPv6. I actually had this question before quite recently, Steve. And my answer is we will have IPv support until nobody wants to support. We will have IPv4 support until nobody wants IPv4 support. And your Windows 14 system or whatever it's going to be will still support IPv4. I guarantee it 10 years from now. It'll still support it. It's just nobody's going to be running it. And we'll be right back where we were a few years before IPv6 started to kick in.
Interesting.
That's my thought.
Do you think about as far as the amount of allocatable addresses that IP6 brings with it, that we're going to have enough? That whole 340 undecillion? Well,
unless we start, our nanobots might all need individual addresses or something like that. I do remember, this is another fun thing about being old, Steve, is I do remember looking at even IPv4 addresses and listening to network experts saying, we could have up to 100,000 computers on this internet thing one day, and so I looked at the address space of IPv4 as more than we could ever possibly use. I also looked at 640K of RAM as more than we'd ever need, which a guy named Bill Gates agreed with me. And it seems that our industry is capable of filling any volume of address, storage, communication space, whatever you want. Give it enough time, we'll fill it up. Yep. Absolutely guaranteed.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, especially with the access that we previously 20, 30 years ago with computing, we didn't have this ancillary third-party market that we have nowadays with connected watches and fridges and doorbells and everything else. So as those things grow too, we're going to see that need balloon up as well.
And also do keep in mind, there are parts of the world that no longer do IPv4. You cannot talk to anybody in China with IPv4. Now, that's because you have a communist government that can make strong dictates, as opposed to us crazy Americans, rock and rollers. But so we can add to that statement and say IPv4 is already obsolete and dropped in certain places. So.
It's true. And Steady as Shark, just to get back to your question about studying, are you familiar with the Windows mode folder? Because if not, let me grab this for you here.
Actually, Steve, what folder?
The God mode folder. So if you create a new folder in Windows, anywhere, and for its name, you put in there from God mode all the way to the end as the name of the file, as the name of the folder, excuse me. It will put all system utilities, all those things into one folder where you can access them. But the benefit is it provides an English text description on what that tool does. So it helps does that referential reinforcement of, hey, this is the name of the service or process or program or utility I'm using. This is what it's actually going to do. It's kind of like a live flashcard kind of.
Steve, I'd forgotten about God mode folders.
Yeah, it's still around, and they keep adding to it. Shark, that might be something that might work for you if you open up that God. If you create that folder, name it that I put in chat there. and then open up that folder and just start looking through, hey, okay, this utility is used for this. This utility does this. It might help create that association a little better for you.
Sure. I like it.
I'm glad it's useful, Shark.
Hey, at 219, Jack Alexander. Hey, Mike, I got my A+ in July. Just landed my first IT job. That's what I like to hear.
Nice.
Starting next month. Just want to stop by and say thank you. Jack Alexander, you're very welcome. Go work, man. That's all I want to hear. Work, work, work.
Yep. Best way. Once you get that formal education, you get the certs done, get your hands on some equipment, get in the industry, start learning.
Let's go ahead and get through this second section, because I think a lot of people are curious about networking on A+. And then let's grab some more questions, Steve. Actually, I'm worried we may not be able to get through. Why don't we just go for 1101, see where we're at?
Okay. So 1101 right now, we're now down to the SOHO side of things. So we were talking about IPv4 and IPv6. And then we get into, all your DNS and DMARC and DKIM, SPNF, and all that good stuff for network configuration concepts and securing email and secure communications and verifying email addresses. And we've got some virtual LAN stuff in there and VPN and all sorts of stuff about leases and scopes for DHCP and reservations. So a lot of technical nuanced info you need to know about this side of things. We've got pretty much our standard stuff as far as networks go. I did notice, now PAN has been on there for a while, but PAN got removed.
I think it did.
Yeah, it got removed.
But actually, one of all of these, it's that wireless internet service provider, or WISP.
Right.
That's the one that surprised me. And this is, Steve, I got to tell you, this is bias on my part, because I live in the inner city and I've got, gigabit up and down coming into my house. So things like a wireless internet service provider, I'd actually see. Do you know what that is off the top of your head? I'm actually quizzing you because I didn't know.
You're talking about the laser, like there's a bunch of so like Google just did with their Loon project. Is that what you're talking about, where they actually do the point laser system?
Yeah, well, it doesn't have to be laser, but it
or
basically,
light. Yeah, excuse me, light.
If you're using 802.11 as your ISP, then technically you're there. Where I saw it originally was actual like 802.11 N network, but it used a super directional Yagi antenna pointed at each individual customer, and it was used as a rural ISP tool. And if you could do, like, I don't remember, I'm going to lie and say 1,000 feet visual to a tower, and they were just putting these on cell towers, okay, that they were giving sub $100 a month, but pretty darn fine internet connectivity. So no DSL, no cable. Literally, they installed it looked like one of those direct what I'm talking about, the little antennas, the satellite ones.
Oh yeah, the dish.
Like a dish network. They look like those, but instead of pointing at a satellite, they pointed at a tower. And yeah, I know they're going to better things than 802.11, but they're using better layer 1 than 802.11. But it's cool. I think so.
It still amazes me that 802.11 has the DOF vulnerability to it, where anybody can kick anybody off. I can't believe that we haven't moved past that.
Well, I thought we did with WPA3. Didn't we finally shake that?
Did we? Because I can still DOF any network I go to. My little watch.
On WPA3, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I have not seen a functional WPA3 network in the wild yet.
Yeah, I don't think I have either.
Yeah, so
I'll have to check into that. But yeah, so back to it. I think PAN got added back in. WISP got added back, or WISP got added. So obviously a bunch of connection types. Personally, myself, I did not see any questions on any of these when I took the exam. However, keep in mind that there's thousands and thousands of questions in that pool. So you're definitely going to see at least one of these, more than likely.
Yeah, we figure there's about 1,600 questions in the pool.
1,600.
Is our best guess.
Yeah. It's a lot. When you're only getting 70, 80, 90 at most once, that's a lot of different versions of the exam. So we get back into our networking tools stuff, stuff we use to punch down connections or terminate connections, crimp wires, all that stuff is in here. New one that got added in is kind of interesting is Wi-Fi Analyzer. A lot of people probably have this as an app on their phone these days, and it's actually called Wi-Fi Analyzer on the iOS or on the Yeah, iOS and Google Play Store. So, but basically, it detects what kind of 2.4 gig and 5 gigahertz wireless networks you have around you, their SSIDs, all that other stuff, the strength of the signal. So it's just interesting because we've always had traditionally on the networking troubleshooting tool side of things, we've always had physical tools. There's been wired troubleshooting, and now we're starting to see some wireless troubleshooting, and I think that's pretty cool.
I agree. Hey, we got Steve. Before we move on to hardware, let me get a few questions knocked out.
Sure.
Because we got a few coming in. Some of these are from Dave's back channel. Bear with me just a moment. All right. First of all, Dave is reminding me that we did an entire WISP AMA last year, which, like I tell the IRS every year, I forgot. But we have a couple of questions. First of all, my good friend Brittany's asking a question, and Steve, I'm going to let you handle any of these, or if you want me to handle them, just tell me. All right.
Okay.
What is odd and even parity schemes? It doesn't make sense to me.
Oh, you can handle that one, Mike. That's right up your alley.
Yeah. So basically, what you're happening there is you got to remember we store data in bytes, right? So there's 8 bits to a byte. So we need to come up with ways, if we're sending a byte of data here, there, or anywhere, how do we make sure the data gets there in a good order? So one of the things we can do is we can add an extra bit. Now, keep in mind, we have 8 bits. All right. Let's say the smallest command you can send to a modern Intel-based CPU is an 8-bit command. So it's almost like a common denominator. So little things like, add 1 to a register, that command's been around for 45 years. So even though today's CPUs get wider and wider buses, you may have a 64-bit bus, but you're only using 8 bits for a particular command. Got that? All right. So this command's being sent from CPU to RAM. All right. And on some systems, not very many in the Windows world, but you will have systems that will simply, they will count. So you've got 8 bits. If 3 of those bits are 1s, if you take that 9th bit and you make that a 1, that means the number's even, right? Think about that for a minute. So that's what we call even parity. If it's equal to 1s, then we put a 0 in there. That's still even parity. And I'll bet you can figure out what odd parity is pretty quick conceptually there too, right? So if I have 2 1s, I'm going to add a 1 to that parity bit. The thing, Brittany, that you got to remember about parity is that parity is not an absolute guarantee. For example, what if we had 2 bits that were bad, right? Then suddenly this numbering system is no good. Parity only works if only 1 bit is bad at a time. And so what we see instead, what we saw this in more than anything else was in RAM back in the old days. So we'd have parity RAM, and it was almost always even parity RAM, but there was some odd parity RAM out there too. Today, what we do instead is we use something called error correction code, or ECC. And ECC RAM can basically predict up to 2 bad bits on any byte of memory. And so parity RAM is obsolete in my opinion. But ECC is, if you understand parity RAM, you can understand ECC better. So hopefully, Brittany, that gets you up to speed on that one. Here's an easy one, Steve. I always should be careful about that. What's the difference between volatile and non-volatile? You ready? This is from Brittany again. What's the difference between volatile and non-volatile parts of a computer? Let's make it easier. Brittany, why don't we just talk about memory for a minute? Steve, take it away, man.
So if you think about the term volatility or volatile, something that's unstable, right? So we talk about volatile in regards to memory means that anytime something has RAM has power pulled from it, it no longer has electricity supplied to it, it's no longer turned on, so to speak, it loses all data within it. So that would be an example of volatile memory or volatile hardware components, anything that doesn't store data in between sessions like that.
No, exactly. That's all it means. And Don asked a question. Let me take this one just because I don't know how much comfort you have with Windows Server. Hi, Mike. I have an issue at work. I commissioned a CA server. So what he means is he committed certificate authority without realizing the existence of another. People do this type all the time. But the thing is with Windows Server, remember even if you're not sure, it never hurts to start by saying, I'm going to join an existing forest. And the reason you say that is it will then go out and look for it. And if it doesn't find it, then you're like, oh, okay. Then you just start a new forest. If you guys have ever installed Windows Server, pretty standard early step on it. And so, but I've done this too. So he didn't realize what was there, and the one he did, it messed web apps. I'll bet it did, because you basically have competing certificate servers there, and they're being authenticated to. What could have happened in the background? Yeah, so every time anybody tried to log into the domain, Kerberos went nuts. You should go to your server right now and take a look at Event Viewer, because it's going to be puking out more red bars in there than you can possibly imagine. I don't see there'd be any problem. Just bring down that second CA server, and it messed web. Steve, I think he has a second server for a reason that he's not telling me. Bring the server back down, and bring it right back up. Try turning it off and turning it back on again. I'm kidding. Don't off and on won't do it, but DC promo it back down to nothing and then bring it back up, and I'm sure you'll be absolutely fine, and that'll get the CA server stuff as well. I got to tell you, man, you can say all you want about Microsoft Windows, but Microsoft Windows Server spinning up a basic domain is so almost idiot proof that it's absolutely terrifying, and you can build something up that quickly. All right. Okay, Steve, one more question. I'm going to give this one to you, Ben. And this isn't a technical question. This is more a studying question. Suzuki Sakoma, Uncle Mike. Hey, Mr. Nicholson. Guys, I'm afraid I won't make it to the last chapter before the cert retires. And I believe that this person has already passed the 1001, Steve. But he's just got a couple of weeks. Well, more than a couple. What, about almost 30 days.
It's October, what, 15th or 20th they're retiring?
20th. So if you were Suzuki Sakoma, Steve, what would you recommend?
As far as using the old material for the new exam? Is that what
he says, I'm afraid I won't make it to the last chapter before the cert retires.
Oh, I think you'd be fine, Suzuki. If that's your only concern, if you've made it that far, you've got 98% of the material. I would definitely grab these objectives from CompTIA and take a look at them. Keep in mind that even though these objectives have changed, a lot of this stuff is still contained in Mike's book. Like that book they don't just rip out a section if if it goes to continuity and explaining the concepts, it's still in there. So I would be willing to bet that you'd be fine just continuing on with the same material and taking the 1102 with 1002 materials. But again, if you have any questions, anything specific, reach out to us on email, reach out to us here. Discord, right? The Discord's a great tool. I see people getting helped nonstop on Discord, and it's
absolutely, that's what it's
500 people deep with 100 people always online sharing their expertise. It's amazing.
Yeah. So Suzuki, the only other option other than what Steve recommended, I would say, damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead, keep your 1002 studies there, and just speed up, row well and live. And you can do it. You have enough time. You only need about 100 hours of study. That's for somebody who knows nothing. Okay. And if you can't squeeze out 100 hours minus your knowledge already, yeah, you're cutting it close, Suzuki, but you can do this. All right.
Yeah, you can.
Downside is, Suzuki, I'm not going to lie, is that if you fail the 1002 and all of a sudden it's October 21st, you are going to have to take both exams. So,
Oh, that is true. I didn't even think about that, Mike.
Yeah, that's the big concern right there. Okay.
Yes. So anyway, if you get it done before then, go ahead and do it. I think you'll be fine.
Go for it. It's a couple of $100. Do it. You can do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing too. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I was going to move things forward. I want to keep.
No, I was just going to say that's one thing too that I see a lot from people in our industry is that, in the modern term is you got to learn how to take an L, right? Sometimes you're going to fail. Sometimes you're going to take a loss. Sometimes you're going to say something incorrect. It happens. And hey, I failed a certification exam or two in my time back in the day. So it's definitely going to happen to you. I wouldn't look at it as such a monumental event that you can't overcome if that does happen. Just, figure out what did go wrong if things do go wrong and pick up from there.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so Steve, we got 15 minutes. Let's do this, man.
What are we doing? The question now?
No. Let's go ahead and go through. I'm kind of curious on objectives. Since we've been talking about 1101, I'm very curious about hardware, because that's where I get a lot of the questions.
Okay. Let's take a look. Here we go. So I'm waiting for the stream here to catch up. So we have our hardware here. Again, a lot of the stuff with network cabling and all that stuff, not much has changed. All of it is still the same. 6A is 6A in addition. No, 6A was in 1001 and 1002 series. So
it was.
Yep, so that's good there. Peripheral cables, nothing's changed there. Make sure you know the latest about Thunderbolt, obviously. The fact that, it's physical standard USB-C now.
Yeah, and the other big thing, remember, number one, when it comes to a cable or a connector, number one, be able to recognize the thing, and if a photograph is presented to you, that's number one. Number two, remember what it's for. You don't have to be super detailed. Cat 6A is for Ethernet networking. All right.
Yes.
Could it be used for other stuff? It can, but come on, keep it easy. And then number three, keep some kind of capability. In general, speed, for example, especially if they're talking, and I'm using network cables as an example. We have Cat 5, 5E, 6A. From 10 feet away, they all look identical, right? But what speeds are there that go into that? Those are the only three things you really need to think about for any type of cable or connector.
Yeah. And I will mention too, at the beginning of when I took the 1101 side, my very first PBQ, the performance-based question I had, was actually 6 or 7 different cables with different connectors. And I had to pick the tool that's used to terminate it, the plug that's used to that it terminates to, and then the outlet that it should get plugged into as well. So
drawn poorly too.
What's that?
And drawn poorly.
Yeah, it's pretty drawn poorly. Yeah, it was hard to tell, but yeah, and a lot of that was 3 of the cables obviously were fibers, so you definitely need to know those connector types. And like Mike said, these are one of the easiest things to study the physical look of things, because you can Google images all day long. You can go to a computer shop, you can walk around Best Buy and unplug things and take a look at stuff in packages, and you can figure out and memorize those physical factors of the cabling and the connectors, but definitely know the specifications of them as well. And I think I saw, yep, it must be me. Rest in peace, Parallel ATA. Yes.
Yeah, it's gone. But I think, wasn't it gone in 1001 too?
I thought it was too.
I think it was too. So anyway, let's take a look at 3.2, Steve, because this one always interests me. How many times did you actually ever install triple channel RAM?
Never once. I don't think I've ever seen a triple channel compatible board.
We've had them. They have existed, but it's been a long time. It's been many years since I've seen a triple channel board, but they do exist. The only thing I'd say on 3.2, guys, is make sure what happens when you snap in RAM, right? So if you've got a DDR4 motherboard and you try to put in DDR2, what's going to happen? Well, it's not going to fit, right? Because it's notched differently. Or what's going to happen if I've got dual channels and I put different speeds in? What's going to happen there? When in doubt, it ain't going to work. So in general, that'll get you the right place.
Yeah, the good news about 3.2 is they removed all those stuff about like RAM ranking and banks, and all that stuff is now gone. So it's a little more palatable.
Yeah, I go with that.
Interesting though, we do see virtual RAM up here. I can't remember if virtual RAM's there previously. I mean, I know it was as far as page files and things like that, if we're talking about that, but I'm not sure if that term individually. And another thing to notice is they actually separate video RAM as well, the GPU side of the hardware stuff. So you need to know the difference between regular RAM, virtual RAM, video RAM. It's pretty interesting.
Yep.
You want to continue on 3.3? Yeah,
in fact, we can skip a few of these if there's nothing, super red hot. Like, for example, 3.3, I see nothing new in there. Although they're trying to bring RAID back, but that's only conceptual.
Yep, I agree. Form factors with your, for your NVMe, your M2, and your data drives, make sure you know those as well. Motherboard stuff. So the only thing, there was actually quite a bit about TPM this in securing Windows, obviously with the push to Windows 11 and that being a zero trust operating system and all the new security features it has. The fact that you need I think it's TPM 2.0 module nowadays to even take part in Windows 11 or install it. They're obviously moving towards a much more lockdown desktop environment, and you can see that by just some of the hardware that they want you to be able to know and turn on and use, encryption, TPM, hardware security modules, all that good stuff.
And the impact of the TPM, if it's not there or if it's there, and just it's pretty practical in my opinion.
They have virtualized it too. There's now a software TPM I think you can get with certain editions of Windows. It might only be like Pro and above. I can't remember. But you can get a software TPM nowadays that does the same thing. Cooling is actually back on the menu with even more, with official Liquid support now and stuff. So make sure I wouldn't say you need to dive into physical fan sizes and each one's common use, but you need to know how to best set up airflow in a system. You need to know the different types of the components in liquid cooling. You need to know how to apply thermal paste and what heat pads and heat sinks and thermal transfer pads and all that stuff are for. So I would definitely pay attention to that one. It's always good practice, right? If you have a computer running and you need some help with thermal paste, go ahead, take your heat sink off your computer. Take some alcohol and a Q-tip or a professional cleaning kit, take that old thermal paste off there and start practicing.
All right, so we've got like 4 minutes to get through the rest of these. So,
man.
Like on 3.5, I thought that's exactly the same as 1001. Yep. I didn't see any difference. 3.6, multifunction devices. Once again, this is all pretty much the same as we've had before. I didn't see much different. They broke down a couple things like network scan services, but I think that was there before. That's my opinion.
And we also noticed security is slowly creeping its way into every objective level here too. So we have, hey, if you're securing prints, if things, if you have a very proprietary environment where things can't get out, you might have a secured print that you need to walk up and badge on or put a code in or something to be able to actually receive your print. And it's just interesting to see more and more security being worked into all these topics. And then of course we've got the usual, fix jams, replace rollers, all that good stuff, and fusers. And I will admit, I had a dozen questions. Yes, that's right. Out of 80 or 90 questions, a dozen questions on printers and printer consumables. I don't know if I just got lucky, or there's 1,500 of the 1,600 questions are about printers in the pool. I don't know, but
no, I think you just happened to catch a day that Lexmark or HP wrote a big check to CompTIA.
Must have been because, yeah. So definitely, I know we all take for granted. Well, we know what a printer is. Output device. I send data to it and it prints it out. Make sure you drill into these objectives because they do get quite granular with the printing stuff. And PBQs on printing too. PBQs. I had PBQs on printing showing just like exploded views of printers. What is this part? If I'm having this error, or if I'm having this problem, what do I need to replace? That kind of stuff. So, and
I think the easiest thing about printer questions on A+ is just if you know how the printer works, if you really understand the function and it comes out in a different way than what it should, what would be inside the printer that would make it come out like that?
Yep.
I mean, don't make that sound complicated. There's no toner, you're not going to get nothing but white sheets of paper. I mean,
right. If there's streaks, yeah, exactly.
That's it. Yeah. Or if there's a little picture of a paper clip every 11 inches, somebody put a paper clip on you. Yeah, you get the idea.
And 3D printers are here too. Now, I didn't get any questions on that, but that is interesting. I can't remember if those were in the previous version of the objectives or not. But very interesting that we're starting to see.
No, they were. They were?
Okay. All right. But yeah, that's pretty much it for hardware side. Again, like you said, not much has changed. They're still focusing on those core things.
Let's go ahead and do virtualization, Steve, since we're in here, and then we can, and then we'll leave it at there and say, okay, hardware network troubleshooting is its own animal, but you get to do it in 2 minutes. Go.
All right, so again, learn your cloud concepts, private, public, hybrid, community, all that stuff. Learn the as a service stuff, infrastructure, software, platform, all these things. Learn what each one means. Which one is just running an app? Which one is setting up an entire networked environment? Which one is just using resources for your particular application? Meter utilization and rapid elasticity. I did have questions on that. I mean, just keep in mind a lot of these terms, even though they sound a little fancy or a little technical, are pretty much self-explanatory. Rapid elasticity, right? If we have a cloud environment, we want to be able to expand the amount of resources we need at any one time. If maybe we're a website that sells a bunch of widgets and we're about to have the greatest widget sale that this world has ever seen in a decade, we're going to need more resources. We're going to need that rapid elasticity to expand out our resources to handle all that traffic. And at the same time, we need that rapid elasticity to scale back down those resources when they're no longer needed. So a lot of those things are brought in here for the new version of the exam. And then, of course, you need to know the VDI stuff. So whether you're a VirtualBox user or VMware Player user, which is my personal favorite, or if there is any of you Hyper-V users out there in the wild, I'm not sure. You're going to have VDIs, on your own PC, your own systems, as well as ones up on the cloud that you're going to need to interact with and know how to learn. So yeah, there's quite a bit in the virtualization and cloud computing section.
Oof. All right.
And that was just we just flew over that. So there, we can dig in as far as we need to, as deep as we need to there.
But I think structurally, we had a lot of good questions come through on top of that. So, see, I thought that was great. Thank you, sir. Dave Rush wanted to let you know that the system is right at his knee has triple channel RAM, which just goes to show you that Dave Rush throws away nothing.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that just shows that you're a hoarder, Dave.
Yeah, they have a television show for you. All right, so Steve, let me see your pretty face there, brother.
Oh, sorry.
So stop sharing for a minute.
There
All
we
right.
go. There we go.
All right, so Steve, that was great. Thank you so much, man. You're going to have to come back. We're going to have to do a full-blown 1102 too, please. Yeah. And I need to warn you, Steve. People are going to use this and edit it, and they're going to push it up to other places too. But we'll let you know. Perfect, all right. Yeah. So anyway, the other let's do a quick. Want to do a quick competition?
Yes, let's give something away.
Fantastic, folks. Here's the competition. Here's how this works. I'm about to give a question. I'm going to say it, and you're going to type the answer in. This will be an A+ hardware question, and it has to do with some type of form factor. And whoever types the question, the answer in the chat window to my satisfaction wins, because this question has a lot of variance in it. And I know we only have a couple minutes, Steve. I got to move faster. And if we have so much fun, you and I always like it. We melt our time. We're going to have to.
We need to make it a more regular thing, I think.
Yeah, because I'm a little irregular these days. That's for sure.
Fun will help with that.
But we absolutely should, Steve. It's so much fun having you. All right, let's get this competition done. You guys ready? Here's the thing. First person to write the answer to my satisfaction in the chat window wins 90-day free access to the practice questions of their choice. And here's the question. The M.2 storage format comes in many sizes. It is a four-digit number that we use to define these sizes. Please define at least 3 of them, and whoever types in what I perceive as the most commonly used, for the record, M.2 has like 20 formats, okay? So, but I'm looking for like the top 3 or 4 most common ones. Go!
It is not triple XL, but you're very close.
Like I said, Tolowit is Andre, while we're getting some answers in, Andre's asking, what's the price of a new RTX 3090 graphics card?
I think he meant what's the prize.
Oh, prize.
I think.
Yeah. Can you imagine what it would be just to even ship that to Andre over in the EU?
Hey, we've got an answer.
We have it. Let's see. Come on. Let's see somebody else put an answer in. Shannon Murdoch is saying, make sure to check out Steve's new Cooling Your System episode in the new course. We had fun making it.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
Did you do liquid cooling or anything like that?
Yeah, we did. We have Zach actually built a great liquid cooling system, so I didn't even bother building one on camera. I just showed his off. But we had some fun with what happens if you don't clean out your system regularly, you don't have proper airflow, and stuff starts to overheat. So we had some fun with that. If you watch the new series come October, you're going to love that part.
I'm going to check it out. Hey, it must be mean. I don't think there's actually an A+ question exactly like this, although I think there should be. So that's a danger here, Steve. Sometimes I throw a question in, everybody's like, "Oh my God, I didn't study for this at all. I'm lost. Everything's trouble." It's okay. It's okay. You're probably not going to be in there. So, yeah, It Must Be Me literally said, "Oh my God, I have no idea." Do you see that one?
I do. That's funny.
Yeah. Poor thing.
He actually had a great suggestion, though, too. He said you and I should get together and do a video where we compare the two objectives completely between the 1000 version and the 1100 version. Maybe make it an
may be outside the scope of the AMA.
That's what I'm thinking too.
Unless you want to break it down into little small. It must be. Are you doing beta quest? Yeah, maybe a little bit. Come on. I don't have fun. They're all teasing me. All right. Anyway, we only have one answer that I agree with. And this is Steady as Shark. So Steady as Shark, congratulations to you. You have won 90-day free access to the practice questions of your choice. Steady as Shark, in order to claim your prize, first go over to www.total7.com. Check out, we have hundreds of different, it's not just A+, Net+, Security Plus. We got all kinds of stuff. Find the one you want, okay? Then secondly, you need to send an email to Dave R. As a matter of fact, It Must Be Me. You can see Dave is putting all that information in there for you. So email Dave R at total7.com. Make sure you have your YouTube name, your real name, and your email address, as well as which total tester you want. So we will have that shipped out to you. Well, it's not shipped out. Basically, it's an online tool. So ta-da, there we go. Steve, I've run you on 1 minute and 15 seconds longer than we were supposed to.
We could do this all day, honestly.
Tolowitz on a roll today. He's saying some good stuff. It must be, when will the Total 7 new material be coming out? It's all coming out now. We basically shipped the last chapter to CompTIA on the book. That was shipped out yesterday, I think. So now we're waiting on printers. Steve, do you have the noise on when we can start seeing your videos popping up on our...
I was told that October 15th, 20th date. So I think once the switchover happens, our combined content that you and I did together will be up on Udemy, LinkedIn Learning, and all those other places.
All right. Actually, Shannon Murdoch is... Oh, good. Thanks. She was here. Shannon Murdoch is actually our head of video production, and she says mid-October. So that's what we're going to go for.
For videos. There we go.
All right. Well, guys, we are going to take off. Steve, once again, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. You're just easy, you know. You're supposed to say, but I'm not cheap.
I'm easy like Sunday morning.
There you go. I'll take that one.
All right.
And with that, guys, we're going to take off. Yes, you're going to be seeing Steve again. In fact, I'm toying with the idea of maybe even Steve running one or two of these, depending on what you might want to do. And, you know, and Steve, you and I really need to talk off channel. Good stuff, happy stuff. But I don't want to say things in front of these guys, and they're going to be like, "Well, you said that Steve's going to give us all $1,000. What happened?" You know.
You didn't say that though, right?
I did not.
Okay.
And Tolowitz thanks you for the music reference, because him and Dave Rush are musicophiles. All right, guys, we are out the door here. So we're going to see you all. Don't forget this Friday's Dave Rush's AMA. It'll be Friday right here on the Total Seminars channel, 2 o'clock. Everything's the same. Other than that, we are out the door. Steve, thanks again, man.
Anytime, Mike. Thank you for having me, bud.
All right. Y'all have a good one. Bye,
Take care,
guys.
everybody.